You are listening to the Slow Living Podcast, and I'm your host, Stephanie O'Day. What if I told you that you could truly have the life of your dreams, the life you've always wanted, one filled with abundance, joy, and a sense of purpose? It's absolutely possible, and I see it each and every day with my coaching clients. It all starts with learning how to slow down. You deserve to live the life you've always dreamt about. Let's get started. Hi there, Slow Down Society. Steph here, and welcome to episode 144 of the Slow Living Podcast. This is going to be another episode that sort of ties into a series of slow parenting episodes. I don't know yet how many there are going to be, but I have recorded a few. And so this is actually 1, 2, 3. This will be episode 4 in the slow living parent or the slow parenting series. So the first one, and I guess you don't need to listen to them in order, but if you want to, you most certainly can. But the first one was way back years ago, episode 5, that I titled Teaching Children to Slow Down. Episode 138 was, I titled it The Introduction to Slow Parenting. And then episode 140, Raising Mindful Kids. And then also we touched upon the newborn stage and some pregnancy. And I had a guest on, Fallon Buckley, and Fallon is a parenting and mindfulness coach. This is going to be episode 144. So this is the fourth in, I'm not exactly sure how many part series, but I want to talk today about school age readiness, because it's been coming up an awful lot in my real life. I'm a school site secretary, and we're approaching the summertime months. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of parents calling the front office, and they want to make sure that their soon-to-be TK or kindergartner is on the right path, and that they're setting themselves up for school success. So I want to talk a little bit today, and I'm here. I am happy to answer any and all questions. If something triggers a thought or an idea and you want some more clarification on it, write to me, email me, steph@stephanieoday.com, tag me on Instagram @StephanieOday. Let me know, what are your thoughts? What do you think about the ideas that are coming forward in this slow parenting series? Do you agree with them? Do you think I'm out to lunch? That's fine. I want to know how to best serve you. Many of my coaching clients are well beyond this school age time, and they look back sometimes at this time and they realize, I think I may have pushed a little too hard, or I kind of make some mistakes there, and I yelled more than I wish I had, and I'm worried that I created a trauma response in my kids. Maybe the way these kids are now as adults, maybe it's because I, quote unquote, did something wrong in the early years. And I don't know, because I'm not in your life and I'm not in your family, and I don't know. But I do know that in general, the whole idea of slow living and the whole idea of slow parenting is to really thoughtfully and purposefully plan what your next move is going to be, and not act out of impulse, not act as if the house is on fire and you've got to quickly act quickly. My hope is you've planned for emergencies and for such as a fire, and you've got a to-go bag, and you know where all of the important documents are, because when you're calm, when you're in a good mood, you have planned. And think about it. All of this stuff, you're going to have toddlers and what they call the terrible twos. And often people who have been there, done that, realize that they're called the terrible twos only because you haven't yet hit the threes, and the threes are actually worse than the twos. But if you're prepared and you're thoughtful, you know this is on the horizon. So when the teenage years hit, it's not a surprise. When your kids lied to you, it's not a surprise. When they come home with a bad grade, not a surprise. You've already sort of like gone through the playbook in your mind. So when you react, it's from a place of being centered and being calm. Sure, you cannot plan for everything. You cannot research everything, but some things you can. You can sort of go into things with a game plan. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But what is that whole saying? When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I parenting and raising this next generation is not something I personally, and chances are you aren't, because you're listening to this, it's not something that I am going to plan to fail at. I look at parenting as my number one job. And almost every decision I make, I filter it through how will this affect the kids? How will this affect my marriage? Because the kids are watching the marriage, and I am trying to raise healthy, grown-up humans who can, sure, learn from my mistakes, but then also hopefully they can model great behavior and apply it to their own life. Okay. So uh with the over researching, so the last episode on 140 of Raising the Mindful Kids, Fallon had talked about how she researched and researched and researched some more. And we're lucky in that we are living in a time where anything you can think of, you can Google and get an answer. And that's an okay thing to do. But also, please know that the best way to slow parent is to pay attention to your own child and meet your own child exactly where they are and acknowledge them and accept them fully, and not wish that they read the top 10 things checklist that you just pulled off of the internet. They probably haven't read it and they're probably not going to fit into that kind of checklist boxes perfectly. And that's okay. And that doesn't mean anyone has done anything wrong. So I've been writing on the internet since 2008. And the only way to feed the internet beast and keep the algorithms happy is to continuously put stuff in it for the Google bots to kind of crawl. But sometimes the best way to learn new things is to unplug and just pay attention to what's right in front of you. And that's a big part of parenting. That's a big part of putting aside your preconceived notions and your over researching and just really look at who is in front of you and what works. And that's why when it comes to like the newborn stage and the toddler stage, when someone says, oh, the very best way to sleep train or do something is this way and this way over. Well, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, a good parent will tell you that sleep training doesn't always work and that some kids cry in this way that's just absolutely heartbreaking. And maybe that child really does feel abandoned. Maybe that child does not feel abandoned and is just having a temper tantrum. And you have gotten to learn your child well enough that you know the differences between the crying. So I'm just using cry it out as an example because I know it's kind of a mommy wars topic, but getting to know your kids and what their wants are and how to meet their own needs the best is really, really, if I was to sum it all up, what I would want you to do when it comes to slow parenting. I also want you to keep the end in sight. And the end in sight is that you're not raising children. You are raising future adults. And you want these future adults to hopefully be physically and mentally healthy and to eventually be financially independent, self-sufficient grown-ups. And when that happens is when it happens. For some kids, it's earlier than other kids. You can only help guide the child you have to get to be that self-sufficient grown-up in their own kind of timeline. You can create arbitrary rules. I've definitely have had some friends who are like, well, the second they're 18, they're out of the house. So if that's you, okay, then you have a lot of work to do. You've got a lot of work to do in the school age and the adolescent and the high school years to help them become sufficient adults. I've always sort of looked at childhood and self-sufficient adults as when the kids are financially able to be sustainable. Great. But we are lucky in that I personally feel like we have elastic walls and the kids can stay as long as they want. If they're approaching 40, maybe we'll talk, but I truly do not think that is going to be an issue. So I'm not worried about it. Hey there. Are you looking for an easier way to meet your goals without sacrificing your ethics or morals? If so, you're going to want to check out the new masterclass I recorded on how to achieve more by learning how to slow down. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but I promise you that this is a proven system that works. If you are ready to finally meet your personal and professional goals without sacrificing yourself or your sanity, check out this new recording at stephanieodea.com/masterclass. Okay, back to this week's episode. Okay, that was a little bit of a soapboxy stance. You do you. Everyone's life is completely and totally different. I am not an expert in any way of your kids and your family. You get to decide. The acronym for SLOW is simply look only within. Go slow. When you're in a good mood, ask yourself some great questions and then go quiet and assume that the voice of God, the voice of the universe, your subconscious, your intuition will answer you and help guide you to where you want to go. But scrolling and researching and over-researching is probably not going to give you the answer that you're seeking, because the internet and all of the advice from all of the people will just continuously contradict each other, because it has to in order to support the beast, which essentially is capitalism. Okay. All right. Every single state has different education standards. So if you're going to research that. Research what are the state guidelines for school readiness. By the time my child graduates third grade, what should they have learned? Those are things to pay attention to. Every once in a while, someone will call the elementary school front office and I'll answer the phone and they ask the name of the math curriculum we're using or the name of some sort of ELA, so English language acquisition, like what kind of language arts program are we using? And I get it. I get why parents want that sort of paint by numbers, plug in an approach to teaching math and teaching reading and English language arts. The difference between a curriculum in a box and a teacher is that a teacher can look at the child and pay attention to where he or she is and then know they have to meet that standard. And maybe this particular child needs a little bit more phonics. Maybe this particular child needs some more flashcards or some more sight words and different things like that. So look at what you're trying to achieve and then slowly, thoughtfully, methodically get your child from where they are to where they want to go. What I don't want you to do is to decide that your 5-year-old is on the Stanford track or your 5-year-old is going to be a star soccer player and get drafted really easily, really quickly. And that's like your meal ticket and you'll not need to pay for college. That's too much pressure for you and way too much pressure for your kids. So my best suggestion is don't do that. Throw away those kind of preconceived notions that you have that your child is going to be a star or this or that. No, just let your kid be a kid and meet them where they are and then help guide them to a happy, healthy, that's mental health and physical health, full-fledged grown-up who is hopefully self-sufficient at an age in which you both deem appropriate. As far as a checklist, for school age readiness, this is what I tell parents. If your child has never been away from you ever, and that happens, and we're coming out of COVID, and there's still some people who have yet to put their child in any sort of daycare, any sort of preschool, any sort of church nursery room, start. But find a friend, find a relative to watch your child without you in bits and pieces. Kids do need a little bit of autonomy and time away from their parents before being plunked into a classroom of 20 kids. So work on that. It does come up in elementary school, and those kids unfortunately do suffer a little bit because they haven't gotten over just the anxiety, the attachment anxiety that many other children have gotten over in their earlier years. So pay attention to that. As far as what they need to know, if you can take your kiddo to the library and he and she will sit and with crisscross applesauce and listen to a story without standing up, without interrupting, without completely and totally fidgeting and wiggling and rolling around on the floor. That's what we're looking for TK and K readiness is the ability to kind of hold still for a certain amount of time. It doesn't need to be long, 5-10 minutes, a picture book story. Teaching how to stand in line and wait your turn. You can do that at the grocery store. Easy. It's something very easy to do. Learning how to open food snacks on your own. It's frustrating to me as an adult who works in a school when I have a first grader hand me a banana or a string cheese and just say, open it. And one, they have no manners. And two, they haven't attempted to open the string cheese or the banana themselves. So I'll always redirect and say, okay, so we do need to use manners here. And you're not ordering me, you're asking me, will you please help me? But also, I want you to try on your own first. And granted, there are some very tough bananas to open. There are very tough string cheeses to open. I know this. I am very adulty, and I still sometimes have issues opening certain things. But I will try before I will find someone else to do it for me. And so that's what you would be looking for. Gross motor wise, standing on one foot. Can your child do that? Drawing a self-portrait. If you hand your child a pencil, does he or she hold it correctly? And then draw a self-portrait. What you're looking for is hopefully a circle and some eyes and a nose and a mouth. Some kids are very detail oriented and draw eyelashes and eyebrows and ears and different things. That's just something to pay attention to. If your child is having a really hard time with some of these things, then perhaps bring it up to your pediatrician. And if you think that they need some assessment, your pediatrician is the first person to talk to by that. Hopefully, by the time your child is entering school, if you were worried about speech delays, if you were worried about maybe some spectrumy issues, you would have already brought it up to your pediatrician at about the 2.5 to 3-year-old mark. Because of COVID, many appointments that used to be in person have moved online. And so pediatricians and doctors don't see kids the same way that they used to. And so some of the screenings are being missed. And we're finding that in the school setting. Like, how did this even happen? How did this kid not be evaluated for speech yet? And he or she is 6 years old. Like that's startling to see. But it's also understandable in this kind of techie environment where we're doing more virtually or through email instead of face-to-face interactions. Shapes, colors, normal things that chances are you probably have already taught your kids at home is what a kindergarten or TK assessment would look for. Does he or she know shapes, colors, that kind of stuff? Really very basic. Personal space. When I was running preschool centers, I taught personal space by giving kids hula hoops, and then they would hold the hula hoop and walk around. And the idea is that is your boundaries. That is your personal space. Often in preschools and younger grades, we use the term keep your hands to your own body pretty often. And so if your child can wait in line or take turns going down the slide and not be all up in somebody else's business and climbing all over them, that is what respecting personal space looks like. And that's how you can model that at home. Okay. I hope this ended up being helpful in some ways. I just want to really kind of pay attention to the pressure that you're putting on kids to perform and the pressure to only do things correctly, because it's a lot, and they will intrinsically start to kind of pressure themselves along the way. Just this past weekend, we saw Inside Out 2, and I get it. It's a Disney movie, and it's supposed to be tongue in cheek, but it really bothered me that Riley did very well in a hockey game, and then her dad hugs her, spins her around, and says, "Hockey scholarship, here we come." Well, that's just too much pressure to put on a 12-year-old, almost 13-year-old girl. No. Hopefully you have a plan in place and some 529s, and you realize when you have a child that eventually that child will be college age and college costs money. But don't pin that on your kid. Injuries happen, life happens, natural disasters happen, houses get burnt down. Don't put your kids in an unsustainable mindset that they have to do it this way and this way only, or they will disappoint you. I would like you to really, truly impart upon your children that you have major, massive, unconditional love for them. Okay. Speaking of unconditional love, I have that for you. I think you're amazing. I think you are wonderful. I think you are lovely. I'm happy to help in any way. Reach out to me. I will answer your questions. You take care, pretty people, and I will talk to you again next time. Do you have a slow living story to share? Leave me a voicemail at stephanieodea.com/podcast with any questions, comments, feedback, or testimonials, and I will be sure to include it in an upcoming episode. Also, if you found value in this episode, please share it with your family and friends and subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. The more you share, comment, and leave positive reviews, the more people we can reach and share the slow living lifestyle and messaging. Thank you, Slow Down Society, and have an absolutely wonderful day.